felek saldın beni cevri cepağa. Hey hey felek saldın beni cevri cepağa. Derdim bulgaç yıkılap demem sen bir vapağa. Derdim bulgaç yıkılap demem sen bir vapağa. Derdim bulgaç yıkılap demem sen bir vapağa.
Welcome to Window to China. Today we are pleased to have Ralph Winnie, the Vice President of Business Development at the Eurasia Center, on the show. And also I have friend like co-host, Sean Marines. Welcome to you all. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Ralph Winnie Jr. I'm the Director of China for the Eurasia Center and the Vice President Global Business Development for its Eurasian Business Coalition, responsible for the promotion of business development, tax, and trade between the 59 nations comprising Eurasia and the United States.
Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, my name's Sean Morris. I'm an international trade and business specialist, and I spent a lot of time in Central Asia and former Soviet Union, and I speak a couple languages.
Yes.
So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome to you all. Let's start about tell us the background of Eurasia Center, please.
Sure. The Eurasia Center was founded in 1987 by Dr. Gerard Janko, one of Gorbachev's former energy ministers and a Soviet dissident. Back in '97, it was formed during the time of perestroika and glasnost as a way to promote positive relations, people-to-people relationships, as well as economic trade development opportunities between the United States and the then Soviet Union. After the fall of the Soviet Union in the early 90s, the name was changed from the Center for Soviet and American Strategic Relations to Eurasia to encompass the former Soviet bloc republics and the Eastern European countries.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to ask more questions?
Well, yeah, we're interested in what kind of projects that Eurasia Center gets involved in and how they're supporting international trade and development in Central Asia and throughout the region and Central Asia specifically.
Sure, we work with corporations, small and medium-sized enterprises and entrepreneurs to help them grow and develop their businesses. We have teams that are on the ground in various Eurasian countries that provide matchmaking and development opportunities in areas such as energy, finance, infrastructure. Yeah. And we find it's very important to promote that people-to-people relationship and to start working and developing from existing projects, moving it forward all the way to the end. So we're there with clients every step of the way. From the time we review their business plan to helping find potential joint venture partners, working with the partners on the ground, and then seeing the project to completion.
Which country do you think have best opportunity? We can do more investment and trade in Asia, in Central Asia.
Well, I think Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan have all really opened up and really are engaged in bringing in U.S. business, certainly on the energy and investment financial sides. The key is developing and promoting small and medium-sized business, growing and supporting the middle class in these countries, which have started to emerge after the fall of the Soviet Union. Once these countries established themselves, they wanted to grow and expand business opportunities. And the way you do that is giving the power to the small businessman to set up his own operations and be able to grow, develop their business, and keep most of the money that they're earning. And this is what has made China so successful and why they are growing and expanding in the international arena, because their trade and economic policies. And we're starting to see that with this in Central Asia. We're looking at the Eurasian Union, which is coming to fruition in January 1st, 2015. we actually, at the Eurasian Business Coalition, have set up a conference to address what it means when a country gets involved in the Eurasia Union. Currently, Russia is going to be involved, Kazakhstan, Armenia just signed on, and Ukraine has observer status. And having these kind of this Eurasian Union is going to be very important because it's going to function as a free trade zone where companies are going to be able to set up their businesses and be able to work and developing and growing their products. What I'm also hoping is there'll be mentorship opportunities where the multinationals will be able to set up in the Eurasian Union and be able to mentor, train, and grow small and medium-sized companies from Armenia, Russia, Kazakhstan, and so forth.
Yeah. Perhaps it's a good idea just to take a step back and give a context. A lot of folks don't understand the strategic importance of Central Asia in terms of its population, its geography, its natural resources.
Well, certainly when you go to Central Asia, you have to look at one thing, and that's energy, oil and gas. Everybody knows that that's the lifeline. There's been a lot of criticism on this country about drilling and looking at alternative energy opportunities. Well, in Central Asia, oil and gas is very important, as we know. They're also looking at shale gas development as an alternative, which may be a little bit more expensive than coal and other forms of energy. But in the long run, they believe that it's going to help grow and develop and expand their opportunities to be able to provide growth and economic development opportunities. Another area is infrastructure development. Certainly building roads, constructions of highways, setting up power grids is going to be key. They've got to be able to connect the country together. If you're going to be able to do effective business, you have to be able to get around and travel and to meet your potential partner. So infrastructure development, power grids are very, very important, and the countries of Central Asia recognize that. You also have real estate. Tourism and leisure. It's a very, very good opportunity for entrepreneurs to develop and to promote opportunities for foreigners to come in and be able to experience what it's like to live in Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, Armenia, be able to take a tour and be able to see how the country can grow and develop. And real estate opportunities will continue to abound in these countries. But it all comes down to helping small and medium-sized enterprises, the growing the middle class. And while a lot of these countries have one-party or authoritarian regimes, they recognize that the key to their staying in power is the economic success and peace and prosperity for their people. So they are wanting to encourage entrepreneurship in a big way.
From an investment perspective, so which country have been very active to promote their market in Central Asia?
Well, there's Kazakhstan, there's Uzbekistan, there's Azerbaijan. I think what they've done that's been very effective, and I've been to Uzbekistan and Azerbaijan, is they have done a very good marketing and PR campaign in the US to bring over delegations, which I've been a part of. In Azerbaijan, I went over with members of Congress, state legislators, to learn about the business development opportunities that are available for businesses and entrepreneurs.
How about the U.S. Government policy to Central Asia?
We've got to create more opportunities for free trade agreements. I think as we have a new Congress that comes in, that's going to be key. I just was watching Fox News Sunday and I saw Mitt Romney, and he talks about the fact that we need to set up more free trade agreements with countries, that Obama is supportive of that, but Harry Reid is not. And it's going to be very interesting if we have a new Congress, if the Republicans are really going to push and assist with the White House in promoting free trade agreements with a focus on Central Asia, so we can get more of our companies over there. We're at a disadvantage with China and Russia because they're getting their companies into the Eurasia.
Why is
Central
the key
Asia.
places and the countries between Russia and China?
Well,
is it the geography and the population resources?
Part of that, and the language certainly. But the idea is to grow and develop business. I mean, the leaders of Russia and China recognize that the key to economic success and prosperity is for people to have money. You ask any young entrepreneur in China what they want to do, they want to be an entrepreneur. They want to make money. The government in China recognizes that, and they want to offer young people the opportunity to become part of business development networks. They want to create trade and economic opportunities for their people to go to Central Asia and to be able to expand and grow their business. So people can make money. They can, in effect, live the American dream. That's why you see home ownership has been big in China, the growth of the car industry. Travel, people in China now have this disposable income. They're being encouraged to spend it. So the government is actively encouraging them to travel and take vacations. And when they go on vacations, they look at business opportunities at the same time. It's not just a true vacation, but they'll treat it as an opportunity to see if they can do business in Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, Armenia. So it's sort of a win-win situation because the Chinese have to grow their economy. They're wanting to move to a more consumption-based model. And what better way to do it than to encourage people to travel, take vacations, spend the money, but at the same time, think about what business development opportunities are there that can benefit their own company and also help grow and develop the Chinese economy at the same time. The Russians understand that as well. I mean, our coalition has worked very closely with the Russian Trade Mission and working with the delegations that come over from Russia and the former Soviet bloc republics to help mentor them, to help them find potential partners, to help them engage with the Department of Commerce. Because many of these young entrepreneurs are at the forefront of business in their own countries. As we know, Russia doesn't have a history of privatization or of small business growth. So the government helps them as much as they can, but they want them to come over to the US and to find potential joint venture partners that can help them grow and develop their business. And while I find people that say, you know, I'm afraid of doing business in Russia, I don't want to put any money into a company that might get nationalized if it's successful, I say, well, I understand your concern and your frustration. All we'd like you to do is be there as a friend or a mentor. You don't necessarily have to put any money in on your end, but they need the advice, the counsel, and the guidance for them to help grow and develop their business. If later on you want to get involved, you're more than willing, you're able to. But for this stage, we really want you to be there as a friend, as a partner, as a mentor. And most people don't have a problem with that. You know.
I really appreciate what you're doing
now.
You know, it seems a very valuable experience.
Right. And you develop the personal connection and the contact. And if you can start at a very young age, which is what President Xi Jinping has alluded to in his speeches, getting Chinese and Americans together at a young age, that relationship only grows and develops further. So your potential business partner may be someone that you've grown up with or you know. And that way you bring people together.
Trust is a big issue
Trust,
in any business. So
right,
yeah, that's
right.
I mean, one of the things that's always fascinated me is how successful the Chinese have been.
Yeah.
And I've always tried to say to the Central Asians in particular, is not so much the Russians, is look at the Chinese business model and how can you adapt that and use that. And I really haven't seen that happen really anywhere outside of China. And the Chinese have been very successful. Right. And you can call them a communist country all you want, but they have a massive private sector that's out there. And they still have probably, I don't know, 200 million people that are employed in state enterprises, but you still have a massive private sector that's very, very active, trading all over the world. And so why haven't some of the countries, in your opinion?
I mean, I think of China as the People's Republic of Capitalism. And they took many state-owned companies, or what we call guoyingqie, and privatized them into private companies, or what the Chinese call suyingqie. And that's been, as you said, that's been very effective because people feel they have an ownership interest, that they can grow and develop a company. They feel the government is there as a friend, as a partner, not someone that's going to come in and hurt their interests, per se. Transferring that into Central Asia is key. You have traditional authoritarian governments that have been loath to unleash the reins, per se, or give up control, because they refer back to what happened after the fall of communism and the collapse of the Russian system and people losing their life savings, and a lack of stability, control, and order led to tremendous amounts of poverty, anarchy, and some cases starvation. I mean, imagine in Russia waking up one morning and going to the bank and finding out all your life savings has been extinguished overnight, and that not happening to you just once but twice within several years.
Oh yeah, multiple places with the devaluations of the currencies that were constantly, you were printing and adding a zero to the currencies, every week.
So countries like Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan are very concerned. If they give up too much power, something like that could happen. So they are reticent to just totally turn over the reins of control to small business. But at the same time, they are recognizing, and they're slowly trying to move in that direction, to privatize a lot of these state-owned companies. And the key is to work with people from the West, the United States. And they're doing an effective job, I think, of bringing over delegations. My first delegation in Uzbekistan was the growth of small and medium-sized enterprise. And the president of Uzbekistan gave a major policy speech where he's talking about trying to grow small business and the support the government is trying to give them, but how important it is for the United States to help mentor and train and grow. And the concern with the instability in the region. We've got ISIS, we've got Al-Qaeda, we've got terrorists. And that's a factor in both Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan that they have to be very mindful of as well. But many of their people are being Western trained and educated. They come back, they bring in new ideas and new philosophies and new ways of thinking and training. And so I'm very confident that over time you're going to see more and more small businesses being created, more activity in the business sector to grow the middle class like you're seeing in China.
Yes. Yeah. Well, one of the biggest problems I see with Central Asia is because especially that border with China is very landlocked, and it's very mountainous,
right.
And then so getting transport nodes through those mountains is really virtually impossible, and it takes massive amounts of investment and number of years. So that constrains a lot of the investment. I think also in Western China there are some concerns of the Uyghurs and Xinjiang province, the stability there. And, and so I know that the old city of Druzhba was the friendship. So all was where the train that's probably one of the only places that crossed in China. But I always advocated that with Central Asians, is developing those contacts. And how do you overcome some of these infrastructure obstacles?
Well, I think Kazakhstan and China have been very active promoting infrastructure projects, developing the oil and gas pipeline. China has been very effective in Azerbaijan. I mean, they've signed major agreements in finance, oil and gas, and infrastructure. And the Chinese are going to be a constructive player in this region. And certainly there's a lot of reticence about dealing with China from some sectors. But again, it goes back to developing a trusted friend and partner. And when you're able to do that with the Chinese, your business can be very successful. So
you're looking at the energy and infrastructure. Those are obviously major corporations, major investment, long-term strategies, and I see a lot of that, and you see a lot of it in Azerbaijan, certainly. In Kazakhstan, you've had the Tengiz filled for years. You see, I mean, Turkmenistan's the other major energy producer, gas producer, but you don't see, that's very close to side. You don't see a lot of Western investment going in there because it's a very close side. And I think there's some oil, some gas in Namangan and Uzbekistan, but
they're in the exploration stage right now. Azerbaijan was effective in setting up a fund that was traditionally oil and gas, but they're expanding it into wine, which is a major industry, and they're focusing on R&D. They don't want to just be the oil and gas area. They want to look at these other sectors. And they bring over delegations just focused on wine, just focused on R&D. And that's the key. I mean, they have, and Azerbaijan has their national bank. They have a branch set up in New York to engage with potential investors and partners. Right. And that's really effective because it allows them to have a presence in the U.S., to be able to have someone that is in effect a lobbyist that goes out and talks about what is Azerbaijan, where are they located, what kind of industries, that we're open for business, and we really want to engage with the U.S., not only on the business side, but we want our political issues resolved with Armenia and the whole Nagorno-Karabakh, exactly. Which I saw when we were there in Azerbaijan. That was one of the main issues. Oh. They're very concerned about Iran. All of these countries, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, they're all deeply concerned about what the Iranian situation portends. I mean, with increased terrorist acts, what does it mean if they have nuclear weapons? You know, and what is the alliance with Russia? I mean, what does that portend for Azerbaijan or for Uzbekistan? You've got people that in the government that were trained under the Soviet system, that have the connections and the contacts in Russia. At the same time, they want their own independence, and they want to be able to engage with them in trade and economic matters.
Yeah, the Iranians were very active. Right. The Turks, the Chinese as well. Right. When the former Soviet Union collapsed, they were the first ones to arrive in Central Asia. And I know there was a gas pipeline that was built right up to the border of Iran, and it's in Armenia. And there's no Western, no investment to finish that and to run that to Bandar Abbas, and they were going to, I don't know exactly where they're running that pipeline, but they're running the pipeline to obviously the oceans, and that hasn't happened. But the larger point is it's a very tough environment for a passive investor, and it's not. Right. The whole former Soviet Eurasia is not a place for passive business investment. You really have to go there.
You do.
You have to
absolutely.
Live, you have to operate it. You have to transfer those skills, and you have to watch your money, you watch your investment, or you know.
And certainly a legal framework, transparency and accountability, the rule of law, intellectual property. All of those come into play as you're developing and growing your business. When I was in Uzbekistan, that was one of my questions to the government was, what are you doing in terms of developing intellectual property protection? That's the first thing a client is going to ask us. How can we be sure that our technology is not going to be transferred or taken unintentionally, but we lose it when we're over there? What kind of mechanisms are in place? And they seem to have gotten the picture. I mean, they've got the court system, but it is still very difficult. I mean, a lot of it comes down to training the judiciary. The ABA has been very effective in China, growing and developing the legal system, helping in the concept of defense, bringing a case, rules of evidence, appeals. And if we can move the ABA into these other countries under rule of law initiatives, I think it's going to be very effective. It's only going to help their economy grow and develop. And for the people that are in power, they're going to see how happy and contented and prosperous their people are, and they're going to reward the people in power. If you're doing well economically, you're going to reward whoever is in power. If you're having barriers to be able to do business, if your partners are concerned about a legal political framework, you know, then you're going to be upset with the government. But I think Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, they understand. It's just a question of how do they move forward in that area, because they don't have a tradition. And they will tell you that. You know, they were under a Soviet system that basically controlled. And they're trying to before.
Exactly.
So that's the key, and that's where the U.S. can be very effective. I mean, in helping to grow and develop and train the judiciary. There are a lot of people from Central Asia in the United States going to law school, working, and being trained here. And so when they go back, they are going to provide a new mindset and education and training there. So that is key. I mean, when we have people that want to go into Central Asia, that's certainly something we address right away. And working with a strong potential partner is important. And a lot of times if people can't be there, they have to rely on the partner to get things done. And with Skype and Magic Jack and all of these virtual technologies that kind of put you there, you don't necessarily have to be there 24/7, but we do advise that you're there on a consistent basis to monitor and evaluate what's going on. Because there's only so much you can do from this end. You've got to be there on the ground.
Yeah, which the first point is finding trusted, qualified partners, and that's where your organization comes in. That's really the big challenge. I think there's many projects, especially in the small and medium business sector there, that are really needed and could greatly benefit the population. It's some of the energies. It's a big one, obviously. The pipelines and those take massive long-term investments. I look at places like Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. They really don't have oil and gas, but they have immense hydroelectric power. And but that also gets into water rights, and that's a potential flashpoint in Central Asia, and that's where you see the RLC disaster in Uzbekistan is one of the definitely one of the top 5 environmental disasters in the world, and that has to do with the amount of land they've irrigated for cotton and the water that's being held back for hydroelectric. So there's a potential,
and how they irrigate, what kind of agricultural technologies are being used. The focus of the second conference that I was at in Uzbekistan dealt specifically with new agricultural technologies for Uzbek farmers, and working with American clean tech companies to go over. There's some Israeli involvement there, but with our new technologies, and certainly in lime, and biosolids and biofuels, to get the technology there, working with the government and the partner in a partnership, it's going to help grow their agricultural sector.
Wow. Can you tell us what is the upcoming conference?
Yes, on December 8th, we are hosting a conference on the Eurasian Union. We're going to talk about the legal and the political framework. We're going to talk about sectors of investment, oil and gas, financial, M&A, infrastructure. We're going to focus on the legal system, intellectual property, and the political ramifications of what the Eurasian Union means. I mean, is it a competitor or friend of the European Union? How are countries going to be able to get involved, and what are the mechanics of actually moving that forward?
I hope it is going to be
I'd like to invite you
thank you. Window to China and Xinyu has reached out to the hundreds of Chinese community, Asian community, and American community on performance, interview in education, politics, culture, etc. It's a link for all the communities. Xinyu and Judy Wu, the publisher AC Business News, are making joint efforts to promote the program on Newspaper Weekly. Window to China and Xinyu is a 30 minutes long English program. It will be available on YouTube, Facebook, Google+, AC Business News by keywords Window to China and Xinyu.